Good evening, everyone. This is L.A.S.A. Life. Oh my goodness. We are here with Yvonne McCoy, and we are presenting Life After Sexual Assault. Founder and host Yvonne McCoy, Understanding My Why I Waited to Share and Report My Abuse. Live with you tonight with this panel. Yvonne, would you like to share why we're here?
Exactly. Thank you so much. First, I want to say thank you to each of you awesome ladies who have agreed to be a part of this, my first live event. Um, the reason that we came together, the reason that we're here today it's the aftermath of what many of you may remember as the Me Too movement. It's been a couple of years ago, but it was the Me Too movement. And in that movement, many women came forward expressing that they had been sexually assaulted. And what I kept hearing over and over and over, maybe other listeners heard something else, but what I kept hearing was the question, why? Why? The question was being asked of the individuals who had said they had been sexually assaulted. Why did you wait? And the question was, if this really happened to you, if you were truly abused, if this really you experienced something this traumatic, then why? Why is it that you chose to wait to share your abuse? So as the aftermath of that, my mind started twirling, started getting some things together, and I wanted to share the whys of many different individuals as to why some of us waited to share our abuse.
Awesome. Awesome. So before we jump into this conversation, we want to be mindful that for some of you who are joining this conversation this evening, it can be trigger warning. It can, kind of spark some spaces in you that you weren't aware that, you have. And it can impact both men, women, children. It could be something that you have stuffed down, within you for, a lot of years, or probably, you thought that didn't really happen. You know, did that really happen? No, that really wasn't that serious or really wasn't that deep. But it's possible that it is. So if you need to take a break or you need to reach out, there are different people who are on this panel and different resources that will be shared throughout this conversation that we hope that you will find as a resource that you can, reach out to. So we want to take a moment of grace, is what I would like to call it, that Mr. McCoy wants to have for us before we jump into this very, very important conversation. So, if we could just take a quick moment of grace, which is a moment of peace, a moment of silence, to just kind of prepare ourselves. If you can situate, get yourself to keep yourself hydrated, whatever it is that you need as we enter into this space to speak about the variety of ways in which we will touch on the conversation and dig into the conversation of how sexual assault has touched the families of the individuals represented on this panel, but then also you in your living room and how it is that you touch this conversation. So, Yvonne, you can guide how long that moment of peace is, and then we will jump into the conversation.
Okay, ladies.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So, panelists, ladies, we're here.
Yes, we are.
We are here. We have planned a great conversation, and I want to take this opportunity so that the audience can know why we're here, why we said yes, and who we are.
Mhm.
So I will allow you all to decide in which order it is that we will introduce ourselves. But if you could take like 3 minutes to introduce who you are and what is your voice in this conversation. I'll start. Okay. I'll help us out. Since everybody's looking like, okay, now who's gonna go first? Who's the deer in the headlights? So I am the moderator to kind of guide us through this journey of this conversation. My name is Mary May of Butterfly Love. I believe that we have one conversation at a time. We evolve through those conversations. I am a trauma therapist that works with sexual assault victims as well as survivors. And I have done that for over 25 years, both globally as well as locally. And I am a survivor of a variety of different ways in which sexual assault has touched my life. So, as being a survivor, as well as someone who helps guide individuals in different ways, I am glad to be here. So, I say yes, because this is my universal assignment in helping individuals to not allow a stronghold such as this to hold them. And the red light is an example that I often use in the journey of therapy. They're sitting in traffic at the red light while everybody else is proceeding with caution until they get to the green light and moving fast. All right, now y'all can't sit with the green light anymore. I mean, at the red light no more. Passing the baton.
Okay, I'll go next. I sort of shared my purpose for having united these young ladies together. But my name is Yvonne McCoy. I am a two-time childhood sexual assault survivor, molested at the age of 8 and raped at the age of 14. My reason for coming together and gathering these ladies is basically just to educate other individuals as to the importance of knowing that just because an individual waited doesn't mean that what they said happened didn't happen. I'm the founder of L.A.S.A, Life After Sexual Assault. That's who I am.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm Ames Durant. I'm elder Pamela Ames Durant. I was asked to do this when me and Yvonne had a talk. We were talking, and I heard her testimony, and I was beginning to share with her about mine. And so when she asked me to do this, I came on here because I want to help young women. I do mentor young women. I'm a marriage counselor with my husband for my church, House of Faith Baptist Church. And I just wanted to come on here to let young women know that they can overcome this, that they can get through this, because we all are survivors. However, when I was reading, because I was reading the Bible, and it tells me that I'm an overcomer as well, because we are overcoming by the word of our testimony. So that's my purpose for being on here, just to let people know that they can get through this and make it through this. Who's next?
I'll go. Good evening. My name is Sharia Schultz. I am the founder and CEO of the Buddy Speaks Foundation. Buddy Speaks is a organization, nonprofit organization, where we provide education, awareness, and support to help prevent and end childhood sexual abuse. Our goal is to make to break down the barriers that stops us from talking about prevention education, that stops us from protecting our children. We want to remove all those barriers so we make it easy, take away the darkness, take away the fear. I am a survivor of childhood sexual assault, and I was raped as a teenager. So this platform, when Yvonne asked me to be a part of, I love everything that Yvonne does. She's just amazing. She's just amazing. She has a voice of strength. You know, she did a program this during Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and she was every day. She motivated me. I was like, Yvonne, you have me. You motivated me to go live even more. So with this being her asking me to come on, and the work that I do, it comes together. And yes, I fit it. Unfortunately, I fit the title of why I didn't tell right away.
Hi, I'm Lynette. Hi, I'm Lynette Medley, the founder and CEO of No More Secrets, Mind, Body, Spirit Incorporated. It's a sexuality awareness organization that focuses on decreases silence, stigmas, and secrecy in uplifting self-esteem, self-efficacy, and self-love. I, of course, accepted the invitation when Yvonne called me because one of the things that we're intentional about is amplifying voices and having crucial conversations with our community around anything that has to do with sexuality, positive or negative. So again, I wanted to be able to share my story and my voice and talk about my experiences that I don't share very often, and just be able to encourage other people to understand that sometimes things land on you and you kind of take the responsibility when it's really not yours.
Thank you, ladies. So my name is Belinda Chamasi. I am pleased to be here and very blessed to be a part of this panel with these wonderful ladies. I am also I'm proud to say that I am a survivor of childhood sexual assault, and also similar to the ladies, also a survivor of young adolescent rape and into my young adulthood up until 20. So it's been a stream of sexual assaults in my past, and why I accepted this invitation is because I've been on a journey of healing, and I realized that the journey, the healing component required me to start speaking what happened to me and stop trying to keep it to myself or, internalize everything. And I was grateful enough and blessed enough to have met Yvonne and realized that, like many women says, her empowerment, just the passion she exuded and her determination also resonated with me and gave me that strength to say I could do this also. So my goal here also is to touch young ladies out there who's experienced this, who felt like they couldn't speak up for whatever reasons, to say you can speak up. And there's so many people out here that will support you in doing that. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yvonne, you did good. You have a great group of us where we are rocking it out. We are touching a lot of different angles of the conversation, and the chat is starting to get grooving with receiving, how you have put people together. So I'm just wanting to just honor the fact that you have stepped into your responsibility to this conversation and to the voice that was poured into you, and that you didn't walk away to keep silence into the space that often is where people stand, or where people, kind of embrace and say, well, I'm gonna just be quiet. I'm gonna deal with it on my own. So now we would like to embrace the conversation. And so, if anybody is watching and they like, okay, well, wait, we have another panelist or another box that didn't speak on our conversation. We're not overlooking anyone. That is our king that is keeping the balance of all of these queens' voices, and making sure that we are on target. So please know that we have to always have a king that balances us in every conversation that we have. So we are not overlooking him. He is making sure that we are balanced in all ways possible. You always got to have the balance of both sides of every conversation. So his voice is being heard, trust and believe. So we will now dive in to the conversation that, is really the nuts and bolts of why we're here. And the challenges that we really want to get to around what makes people wait, and what is the mystery behind what makes it so difficult for someone who has experienced these challenging events. What makes it so difficult for them to create the voice? Like, what makes them Yvonne, you said at 8 and 14, and I know that there are individuals who I work with that may be 40 and 50 and beyond, and they're coming into the therapeutic space and saying, okay, yes, I think something happened to me when I was younger, but I don't really know what that was. Um, let's talk about that, ladies. Who would like to jump in first? Like, what made you wait? Let's have an open-ended conversation around what was difficult of creating your voice around that.
For me, it was fear. I didn't want to say anything out of fear, out of embarrassment, out of people thinking that I caused it, or I just didn't want to ask any questions. And I was only 14, getting ready to turn 15 myself. So I just didn't say anything. And like I said before, being an only girl with brothers and a father, had I told them what had happened to me, that person would have been dead probably. I'm being real, because my father said he would have shot him after I told him my daughter was 22 years old when I shared what had happened to me. So my father literally looked at me and said I would have shot him. So I'm glad that I didn't say anything, but it has you just, and then you black it out like it never happened. You begin to, like me, I started medicating myself with pills and smoking weed and doing all kinds of things, and you just don't remember it at all. And the trigger for me was a client that got raped, and it was 22 years later, and that's when it triggered that it had. This could have been me laying in Friends Hospital with my mind all on with crazy and on pills, and they got me shooting me up with drugs because I got raped. So it just brought everything out. And like my husband said, when it happened, God was showing him that that was the time that I had the strength enough to deal with it. So that's why I waited.
Wow. Okay, I'll go next. The reason I waited, my first offense was at the age of 8 years old. It was a trusted family member. And the reason I waited and didn't tell anybody initially is because in our household as a child, if you didn't tell something as soon as it happened, then you got in trouble. If my sister hooked school or if my brother did something he shouldn't have done and I didn't tell right away, then when mom found out, you got in trouble. I didn't realize at 8 years old that this didn't fit into that category. And when I didn't tell it that night, I don't know whether the brain or the body or something does something that protects us. I literally forgot all about it. I had no recollection past that first week. After I had made up in my mind, I didn't tell on the first night. I said, I'm not getting in trouble. I'm not about to tell my mom something that I should have told her because I think I'm gonna get in trouble. Again, not realizing at 8 that this didn't apply. I was fully married. I got married at the age of 23, so 8 from 23, whatever that number is. Home, washing dishes, cleaning up. Oprah was on television, and there was a show about sexual assault, and I began having flashbacks. I start seeing things, and I'm like, it literally scared me to death. I'm like, I'm seeing this old house we used to live in. I'm seeing the relative. And after I had about several flashbacks, I picked up the phone. I said, Mom, did we used to live so-and-so? She said, yeah. Did so-and-so used to babysit? She said, yeah. I said, the grandmom's Alice lived there. And she said, Dow, what do you want? What are you trying to say? What are you telling me? I said, Mom, so-and-so molested me. And that's how it all came back to me. My waiting was not a conscious waiting, but my waiting was the fact that I had forgotten. But the moment those things start flashing in my mind and flashing in my head, I needed to know that I wasn't crazy. That's the very first thing that went through my mind. I said, I've got to be crazy. What are these thoughts? What am I seeing? What is going on? And when she validated the fact that, yes, we lived here, this person babysat and so on, and then I was able to share. So that's why I waited.
And it ended up being like a trusted person that was in your space and that was like an approved adult in a sense that was around you.
Correct.
Right. Anyone else?
join in. I know for me, during the younger age of 2 or 6, the as Pam said, fear. It was one of those things where my assaulter basically um, put into my head that if I was to say anything, that I would lose the people that I love the most. My mother would not come for me, would not want me. So it was that fear that if I was to tell anybody, then my parents would not want me anymore, would not come get me, and that played in my mind for some time, all the way up until like similar to the young adulthood, and even then, I still didn't say anything to my mom. I still didn't reveal anything to anybody until years later, at the age of 37, after several years of therapy. And as Pam said, going through periods of self-medicating as a youth into young adulthood. So it took some time to break that thinking that if I was to say anything, I was damaged goods, or that my loved ones would view me negatively or blame me for it, because that was the message that was constantly put into my head from those assaulters. They're not going to believe you. You're a child. I'm the adult. Who do you think they're going to believe? And if you say something, you're going to get in trouble, as Yvonne stated. So those fears for a child, gets imputed, and then as we grow up, it compounds, and then it becomes, as I got older, that fear turned into, I turned it against myself. I started blaming myself that, I was the reason why. So what is the point of telling anybody, because I brought this on to myself. So yeah, it was difficult, but necessary thing to speak up about.
Awesome.
Okay.
Sharia, you
I'll go
going?
next.
Okay.
Yes, I'll go next. Okay, so as a child, I was less than 10 years of age. So I'm going to say between the ages of eight, but I know it stopped by the age of 10. My mind blocked it out. I can't really say exactly when. However, what many of us, my experience as a child was a bit different from some of you, but which happens so often in our community. I was assaulted by my cousin, and he was an older teen. So so with him being an older teen and him being my cousin, I was confused. And then in our family, they talked about sexual assault, but they didn't talk about prevention, because we had a cousin who was assaulted by her father. So when it happened the first time, I didn't tell because I was confused. And it wasn't penetration. And it was my cool cousin that we all lived on the same block. So what's happening? I'm so young, and we didn't have body safety education. We knew from what happened to my other cousin who was assaulted by an adult. But we didn't talk about older teens, which is something that we have to talk about. So after a while, I got tired. I'm tired of them touching me. I'm tired. I don't want to be alone with him anymore. But they thought it was safe because, I know how to protect Sharia. I know how to protect the children because we had 3 family houses on the same block, and we weren't allowed to be with anyone but each other. So we always think it's the danger stranger,
Right.
So we were safe. We were with our cousin, but we were left alone. Go down the street and get this. Go down the street and get that. So after a while, I just was like, I'm so sick of him. You got to leave me alone. And I did speak out because we had a family meeting, and did any of you ever touched? But they named the uncles. They named the men. And I said, yes, I was. And I by so-and-so. And nothing happened. Nothing happened. And I lived with the shame and the blame and the guilt because my body actually at a little young age, and a lot of people They don't think that this happens, but my body enjoyed the touch. My body enjoyed the touch. I look forward to that feeling that I experienced, but then I grew to hate it. And then I just never said anything else about it until I had a trigger when I was close to 30. So I just had to live with shame and blame and guilt and, so many other behaviors that exhibited themselves that my family didn't know anything about because we weren't educated with body safety.
Mm-hmm.
I became, and prevention tools. Body safety just one part. So then when I was a teenager and I went out on a date, and I'll never forget, I said, be careful. Come straight home. We were only supposed to go out to eat. And he tricked me into going past his house. He didn't drag me, he didn't force me, he coerced me. So he said, I got to go to the bathroom. Just come in my house. Wait a minute. My mom said, don't go and nobody else. I know the rules. But okay, he's going to be quick. So I went and he was like, come upstairs. Then he took me in his room and turned the music up really loud. And then he assaulted me violently. And I went home that night after I got kicked out of his house. And I cried and I ran home and I took a shower and I scrubbed my body off. And I never said a word because I blamed myself. I was wrong. I wasn't supposed to go in his house. I never told. I became an adult. So that's why I didn't tell.
That is so deep.
As a child, I was told later once I had my trigger and all the memories came back, we didn't do anything because we didn't take it that serious because it was just your older cousin. We thought y'all were just,
You froze up.
They didn't think it was
wait, Sharia, you actually froze up in the middle that the family didn't take it that serious because, and that's the last thing that I know that I heard. Okay.
Right. I'm sorry. The person that I disclosed it to, it wasn't my mother. She said, well, because he was an older teen, they didn't look at it as though it was as a serious offense as it was with my cousin who experienced an offense for several years by her father. And they went through DHS and court and he went to jail. So mine wasn't taken very seriously because it was from an older teen, unfortunately.
And, from family, oftentimes that is usually the case, that it's usually dismissed in the fact of it being important, it being acknowledged as it being either two teens that was exploring, or they blaming one person over the other, or that you put yourself in that situation or it wouldn't have happened. And it's like, you had several nuggets in what it was that you shared. I'm gonna just stay with those because I know another one of our questions, I was about to say something. I'm like, wait, I don't want to take away your nugget that you may use for one of our other questions. But definitely hit on some of the things that, unfortunately, the miseducation of our families in trying to keep the face and not being embarrassed, or to say that these stigmas or values or beliefs that we have, that it's not going to happen in our family, or that it does happen in our family and they know about it, but we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about those red cup chronicles that happen at the cookout or at the family dinner. We just going to try to keep you away from that particular aunt or that particular uncle or that particular cousin. And if it happens, okay, let's just go buy you a nice outfit, or let's go take you out to a special dinner and keep it a secret, and then you become the secret keeper. That people don't realize what that means when you become an older person, and how that impacts you, not only as an adult negotiating relationships, but also as an adult negotiating contracts and negotiating how it is you are in the workplace as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it made me think about something else you said, made me think about my bestest collaboration partner in working in this sexual space always says, sometimes the things that feel bad sometimes feels good. So,
That's why we have. I'm
it makes
sorry.
it so confusing. No, it makes it so confusing.
And that's why we have to eliminate that term good touch, bad touch. Because the bad
Absolutely.
touch starts to feel good. We have to let them know no one is allowed to. No one should. Not if somebody touch you, that's a bad touch. Because, as a man that I spoke with, he said, he experienced sexual assault by way of a woman. And he said, I hated it, but then I grew to love it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can't say bad touch because
It's confusing. It's misleading. It directs us in the wrong space.
It's completely confusing. As a child, I was not aware, like you said, of good touch, bad touch, and even if I knew my body parts, but the sensations that come naturally as you're developing, you don't understand those sensations,
Mm-hmm.
and
I remember.
so it becomes more. It becomes very confusing when you are being assaulted, but then there's other types of sensations
Because your
coming out
body
of
naturally responds. It's a
that.
human, like despite what is occurring that feels aggressive, it feels harmful, like your mind is trying to dissociate, understand, recognize all of this confusion that's happening, because especially if you're in a neglectful situation, you're getting attention, be it good, bad, or indifferent. And you're like, okay, is this wrong? You might even be getting some form of payment and food, or if I dip into the red dot campaign, you might be working towards getting sanitary napkins or getting food, or negotiating terms for different things that it is that you have as basic Maslow hierarchy of needs that people don't that they take for granted. And you've learned these things because you haven't been taught otherwise. And it's like you're being taught the aggressive way or through sexual assault, because sex is a currency.
But
And go ahead. And I don't want Lynette to be left out. Don't be thinking that she didn't listen.
I'm about to stop. But what we have to also let the listener audience know is that there's a grooming process. So it doesn't start brutally. It doesn't start with harming the body. It starts with, the sexual abusers. They pay attention to you. They pay attention to the children. They look for the vulnerable one. They look for the one that is looking for love, looking for that special friend. It may take a week, it may take a month, it may take years. So that's why it becomes so confusing. So it's a brutal act, but it doesn't start that way. The touch doesn't even start that way. They desensitize the body and with the secret. So, that's how it goes on for so long, unfortunately. And I'm going to be quiet now and let you speak. I've been talking too much. And you sit there patiently waiting, Lynette. And I know you.
And no voice is too much, because definitely somebody needs to hear you on the other side of this conversation. But we just want to make sure that it is a conversation and that every voice is heard and recognized.
Absolutely.
Miss Metley?
You guys know you could have talked all evening and I would have been
But the thing is that this is
because we
our
don't have
wheelhouse, and we could talk all evening, but the clock doesn't allow us that, because L.A.S.A has said she invited us to only speak for a certain window of time, and we got to be respectful to that. Otherwise, we can have tea and coffee and be here.
We sure could. We could, but it's so, you know what? And I'm just want to start with just saying it's just so refreshing to have a space where we can have these conversations. How many of us really have this opportunity to have conversations like this? And the reality is, because we don't talk about it, when you have a space like, it's like, oh, it's like, oh, because it's like, when do you, and this and that. So that's why when Sheree, I'm right there like, okay, she didn't say half the stuff that I was going to say, because that's what happens. So it's just, I'm a newbie to really talking about this. Let me just be honest. I do a lot of work, counseling and talking to different people. But I'm gonna just say, I think my why and why I didn't talk about it was, again, I didn't think it was. So one thing that I can say around the Me Too movement and all these other movements with them really talking about what sexual assault is that I don't think many young women, especially women of color, have autonomy of their body. Like, I don't think we realize that we have a right to privacy of our body. And the hypersexualization of Black girls' bodies and this idea that you provoke or make people want your body from the way you dress, what you talk about, how you carry yourself. So I think that was my why that I did not say anything, because I really didn't think it was. And also, um, just really this stereotypic view of who gets assaulted or whatever. I'm like, I'm strong, I'm powerful. I'm not like the one who they say, or, like, how could this be me? And I think it's because, okay, grooming goes, like you said, across the board. Like, okay, well, this is a person that maybe, I can do this because she is the popular one. She is this, so she doesn't want her reputation, garnished or tarnished or whatever. And also, like, I'm putting her in a position of power because she is, and she thinks she's in power, but I'm in power. So my sexual assault came from my math teacher when I was in junior high school. And it's ironic because I never talk about this. I think I only talked about it once, Yvonne. That was at my event in private. And it was my math teacher, because I was, this smart student, and I was going there for tutoring. I was going there before school and after school, for this extra tutoring because I was so intelligent. So I think one of the things that we don't talk about is when people are in positions of power. A lot of times we talk about family members and we talk about, date things, but what about teachers or bosses and stuff? Like we talked about, but when kids are in school and it's a teacher, it's very difficult to really articulate, because you're thinking that they're in this position, they're watching over you, so this must be okay. So it had to be 12. I don't know. I'm telling you, I guess like everybody else, I think you block it out and you repress it for so long. I guess I was 12, 13, whatever, you're in 7th grade. I don't know. So I was going there and it just started like, oh, you're doing great on your papers and, you're getting this tutoring and this. And it wasn't that I was, behind. I was actually very intelligent. So then it was like, you get, to tutor other people. You get to be in the front of the class. You get like, pumping you up like you're this person because you're my special person. And I did not realize that it was sexual assault. I just thought that I was special. I thought that, I was a special person. I was getting special attention because that's how they groomed you. Like, you're special, you're getting this special attention. And then as I started seeing other young ladies who were experiencing other, sexual assault from like the NTAs, it was like a group of teachers there who was basically doing this. It was the NTAs and a group of teachers. And we all thought we were just the special ones and not realizing it. So I think a lot of it was we didn't know. We just thought it was normalized. And even when you told other people, like kind of hinted like, oh, well, they're doing this, they're, like, well, what was you doing with them for it? And you're like, oh, well, nothing. Because you almost were defensive because you didn't want somebody to say you caused it. So, well, why would you go there in the morning? And why would you go back? And it's just, then they told me that if I didn't come back, they would fail me. And all I was thinking about is I'm an A student, an AB. My mother would kill me, not about this part, but because I'm going to fail. So this is something we don't talk about. Another part of my sexual assault was being married in a relationship with a person who was a high profile individual. Like, I did not know in a marriage you could have autonomy of your body. I thought they owned your body, so they could do whatever it was to you and share you and do whatever they wanted to do because you were their property and they were paying all the bills and they were the ones who was popular and they, were rappers and all these different things that they had going on, not knowing that, again, that was still sexual assault because you weren't giving consent to those type of things. So a couple of things: good touch, bad touch. Yeah, that's some of the work that we do about the superpowers and having your voice and really being able to talk about it. And yes, Mary, you were talking about how I always used to say back in the day, a good touch. I don't like saying good touch, bad touch, because all of us have a sexual response system. We develop, that's how we're born. We have a sexual response system. So even if we don't want to respond, we respond because our bodies still have erogenous zones and we still react. So you can have orgasms, you can get wet, you can do all these things, and it could be just because of what's reacting and what they're touching. Another thing is that many times because of it, if you're groomed early and you're exposed early, then now this becomes a soothing behavior. So you might be hypersexualized and start having sex. You might rub in your seat till you have orgasm and stuff, because now this is a normalcy. Just like when you're young and they expose you to, a bottle or, other thing, you start thinking this is normal. So your body yearns for that. So you feel guilty because now you want these feelings. So I want, people to know that this is normal. It's normal. And people who do this intentionally know that now you're confused because no one's talking about it and no one's saying that this is what's happening, and that, you can have a voice. So I think one of the main things that people who groom you is they create that silence. Like, I'm gonna hold this over you. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna take something from you, or I'm gonna do something to you or your family. Another thing is people threaten your families. They threaten other people in your family, and they also threaten you. So I think I said everything I wanted to say on my little thing. Yeah, I think so, because I was writing down everything, but I think that's why. But I think that's really, I guess, my experience, and it's probably a lot of other people's experience. Oh, the other part, I'm sorry, is college. When you really look at college, I think many times it was sexual assault because you actually just slept over for a while. You stayed in the room a little longer. You had a little drinky drink, and you never really said yes, but you never really said no. So you're like, okay, I'm confused. Like, was I supposed to? And then people are like, well, you went to their room, you stayed overnight. What did you expect? You went upstairs. So that's another reason. Come on, we got to stop this. People have autonomy, even if they're doing a butt naked booty dance in their face. They can still say, this is not what I want, or, really telling our other persons, it could be male or female, that you can't touch or do anything in somebody's body unless they get permission. All right, I'm done. I think I said everything.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Lynette, because one of the things we have to do as parents and as leaders that's working with children and teens and youth is explain to them what consent is. Because we
don't have that conversation.
We don't have that conversation. Now, I've taught the group of teens with the NOMO Foundation, and it was about 40, 50 girls, and we talked about, bringing awareness, sexual assault, prevention, education, and so many of the girls, they blamed themselves. It wasn't really rape because I participated, but I participated because he did this, or I participated, or he threatened to expose my pictures. So if I expose my pictures, so I went along with it, and they don't realize. And it was not just them, but as many of other youth teenagers that I spoke with also. They said, "Well, I didn't say no." So we have to teach them consent is you're saying without a shadow of a doubt, with excitement, yes, I'm ready.
And also, it's not even always a yes. I think what happens is that when you talk to young men, they're always saying, well, they said yes, or they didn't say no. Body language, if their eyes roll, if they stiffen up, so we need to have really, when we do these conversations, how does it really look? Did they have any influence? A pill, alcohol, anything? And also, like with that T video, even though you had sex with me yesterday, they'd be like, well, I can get it again. No, you can't. Each time you have to have that conversation and make sure that I'm okay with it. So I think one of the things is stop victim blaming and sex shaming people. I think that's the issue. That's why people don't come up, because they question you to the T about what you did more so than what happened to you. So there you go. I'm gonna let you guys talk now.
I think quick too, because that silence or hesitation is an automatic no.
And no is a full complete sentence. Like that's the thing. Like if you said yes and you get upstairs and it's a no, like no is a full and complete sentence no matter when it comes. If you said yes and the zipper is halfway down and it changes to no, it's no. No tip in, no, let me get a little bit, like it's no. And I'm sorry if I went too raw. Sorry, Yvonne.
But you know what, Mary? I just want to say this one thing. I think what happens is that we should have these conversations with a group of male identified individuals, because the messages they get is, oh, you got to warm her up. You understand? Because that's a whole different, that's why I always say we have these conversations around women or, female identified persons or, but when you talk to young men, that's why a lot of the work that we do is around men, because they're like, no, they stiffen up, you got to loosen them up a little, or, they just saying that. So generationally, when you really talk to even our brothers, our fathers, our uncles, we don't do it. And I think that's what happens. We have the conversations, but how can we make sure they're brought in on these conversations too, that we make sure that they understand what no is, and no always isn't going to be verbal. Sometimes it's just body language. And so I think that's how a lot of people get caught out. They're like, oh, well, they didn't really say no because they're not saying in those at the basketball courts or you understand, with the guys and the uncles and stuff. They're like, oh, well, just because with the young people, what was the question I asked them that time? I was like, hey, if a girl said, has started and you guys are ready and you all ready to go, and she says no, what do you do? And they were like, oh, we start kissing her a little bit more to make her. But that's what the guys said because they didn't know. So,
and then I ask you the question: when you all were sexually assaulted, and the person did you share it with your parent or a close person that you shared it with? Did they ask you, was it consensual?
Not at all.
Not at all. Right. And that's what I wanted to say. Like, they don't
ask, what did you do?
It was blaming.
They just assume that you did it or you were okay with it, and why were you there, and what did you have on, and all. They start asking you questions. And that's what makes the person that is victimized shut down, because at that point I'm not going to share anything, because now I can't trust you with my feelings. I wanted to tell you, but my mother, and I love her dearly, we are so close now, but she went off on me, and I wanted to tell her so bad. You really don't know what happened. You just don't know what happened. I was 4 months pregnant when she found out. So she really didn't know what happened. And I had to get through that. Like I said, I love my child now. Like, we are the best of friends, and I support her through everything. And that just made me love her more once she was born. And what I want people to get out of this is that women that were in my situation that might have had a child from a sexual assault, that you can love your child because the child didn't ask to come here. And the other thing was, in the religious sector, in the church world, when I was going to church when I was younger, no one came to me, none of the mothers. And this is what I want to put out there too, now that I am an elder of the church, that we as elders have to make sure that we are available, we are transparent, that we will be able to have women come to us and not be afraid, and we don't judge. We have a grace that's on our life, that we have to be able to speak to these women and talk to these women and share and be able to get them through what they're going through. And I think that's what I want people to know. I'm 65 years old now. I am an elder of my church, and a lot of young people come to me. But we have to be open and don't let the position, like you say, of power prevent you from mentoring and doing what you need to do with these young people, because they need us. They need us.
If I could just step in for 1 second.
Absolutely.
And just piggyback off of something that it said with regard to yes and no, and giving consent and not giving consent. My second assault happened at the age of 14, and I never said no. I didn't at one time say no, but every ounce of my being said no. I froze, and for years I wore the blame. I carried the shame. I struggled with the guilt and questioned myself time and time and time again. You must have wanted to. You had to have contributed. You were supposed to say no, and you didn't say no. Why didn't you say no? I had conversations back and forth in my head for a number of years until I finally went into counseling as a full-grown adult, and at that time came to understand that what I was experiencing was called the survival mode. I did what I thought was necessary to survive. I thought playing along with the game, acting like, okay, I was petrified. I even remember having a conversation. How ludicrous is that? How can you say the person that assaulted me, oh, he was nice? When even now, umpteen years later, how can I rationalize that in my mind? I dropped my car fare. He helped me find the car fare. He walked me back to the bus. And then I'm going to tell somebody I was raped, and I was raped and I didn't say no. Come on. What kind of foolishness is that? So I want to say to other young people or anybody, you may not verbalize the no, but that does not mean that you meant no. That does not mean that you wanted this to happen. No doesn't always present itself in a verbal form. Again, I did what I did because I thought that this is what would get me out of this situation safe. So I cannot express that enough. The fact that sometimes we continue to beat ourselves because we didn't actually say no. No can be relayed in so many different ways. So when the net said that, I definitely needed to jump in and just add that.
I need to follow up on that because that touched me because as I stated before, I beat myself up for the longest time when I became, in my teens because I felt like I should have had the capacity to say no. I justified it when I was a child because, I was a child. I could explain it away that why I didn't say no. But when I was 18 and, when I kept expressing to people, this individual was at the church, expressing to church members that this individual was harassing me throughout the church and being dismissed and everything, all the way up to the point where he got me in a space where he raped me. I froze. I beat myself up for the longest time because I say this because I heard the door open. I saw him walk in. I saw him. This is me going through you had all the opportunity to do something, is what I constantly told myself. And I said, oh, you're 18. You could have fought him. You could have screamed, but you froze. So what's wrong with you? And not knowing, like you said, I just went back to what I was used to doing as a child, which is fight, or we have our fight, freeze, then fall. And so I froze and I dissociated and I detached from my body because it was easier for me to just, that's how I dealt with it as a child. And that was the old defense mechanism that came right back up without me even thinking about it. My body just went into protect mode and freeze. And it's the same incident that happened a year and a half later when I turned almost 20, coming from community college, as you stated, this nice gentleman, late at night, 10 o'clock, late classes, I have a child. I was tired. I want to get home, and about to get on the train, and he offers a ride. And even till now, I say, oh, you were yacht naive. You should have not gotten in the car. Even till now, I still, blame myself. And it doesn't matter if I got in that car. It doesn't matter if I accepted that ride. I wanted to go home. That's where I wanted to go.
Right.
I did not want to go anywhere
Late
else.
at night, like that's what you was thinking. Like, can I just get home?
That's it. I just wanted to go home. And instead that car went somewhere else. And once again, I froze again. And, this time was different because there was the weapon involved. So it was really survival. You can't run. You can't do nothing. All you could do is comply. It's all I had in my mind is if you want to live through this night, all you could do is just comply. And that's what I did. And sure enough, I'm just grateful that I lived through that night. But yeah, it hurts, we have to tell ourselves that, we are not to blame for this just because we didn't verbalize the no, or just because our body does what it naturally does is to freeze and protect ourselves, And so I thank you for bringing that up because, like for the longest time until now, still till this day, I have to fight with myself. I have to convince myself and tell myself it's not your fault that you got in that car. It's not your fault that you, did not get up from that chair or scream because there was someone in the house that could have came downstairs. He would have screamed. But no, you were too scared. And I have to forgive myself for that and allow myself to be forgiven.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that for anyone listening and for someone who is surviving that has experienced this is that life experiences as such, you have to give yourself grace. And in that space of grace comes forgiveness. And you can't be holding yourself accountable for the actions that the individual who has taken something from you. Whereas you want them to be accountable, you can't control the accountability that happens to them. But again, I go to my traffic light. You don't want to sit at the red traffic light of waiting for them to be accountable for what was taken from you. But you can be responsible for the journey that you have accountability for, what you can do. You can proceed with caution and be active in activating the responsibility of your body, your mind, body, soul, and give yourself grace. You have no responsibility for the mental health, mental illness that that person lives with that is not being addressed, and how they took over your space. They came into your personal elevator and took something from you. And it's an unfortunate, it's an unfortunate experience, but you can't stay stuck on that date, time, and moment. And in some points, you have to give yourself grace when you meet whoever your new partner is, and you have to let them know different cues and triggers of what that experience has been. Maybe not all of the deep, gory details, but you need to let them know something so that they don't re-expose you in those circumstances, and that they know some kind of grace that they need to experience and participate and embrace you with, so that they can walk you side by side, linked up in this journey, so that you guys can have a different level of intimacy and love, be it that they are your bestest friend or that they're your bestest partner, like whatever role it is that they take, because they don't necessarily have to be your intimate partner. It could be a mother-daughter, it could be mother-son, it could be father-son, like whatever it is, you could be triggered by different situations, because even if you are in the conference room and you have your leader and you are doing a presentation to get that slamming contract, somebody can trigger you from a sexual assault situation, and you like, wait a minute, hold it, why is this happening? But if it's still unaddressed, it could be happening, and you could be hyper aroused from that situation that happened to you, that you're at the red light because you thought that it didn't matter. You matter. Your voice matters. You need to decide that you matter enough to create that voice in that space, to be able to move, proceed with caution at that traffic light, and put whatever resources in place to guide yourself forward. Thoughts or comments?
So well said.
And
Okay, Pam, you got yourself on mute, and I see you talking to the screen.
Yeah, my mic was muted. I'm
That's okay. I
sorry.
want to hear what you got to say.
Oh, no, I was saying that I agree with everything you just said. That's why especially with the part about telling your spouse or your partner what has happened to you. I didn't have the I didn't tell him. He just knew. My husband always says this, that the man that you marry should know your heartbeat. And what he means by that is they should be able to know everything that you're going through. He didn't know I was raped because I never told him. But when I came in the house and I came in crying that day, he knew something was wrong. And he just kept saying, what's the matter? What's going on? And then when I began to expose him, he began to apologize for the guy that assaulted me. So I'm apologizing for him, he said. And he just hugged me and caressed me, and I just broke down crying. And that's when he said, you're going to have to confront him. Because you have to get over this. Because I knew who it was. You know, he was my best friend's brother. And he said, you're going to have to confront him. And I did. That was my release for that moment. Because at that point, I did survive it. I got through it. God allowed us all of us are survivors. All of it, God allowed us to get through it. That's why I keep saying I'm at the place now where I'm overcoming it, because I don't only just want to survive. I want to that's my past. That behind. I'm overcoming this thing. And that's how we do it, by speaking out and talking about it. So when my husband had me go talk to him, he apologized. And he was so afraid. He asked me to forgive him. A few choice words that I'll choose to say here. But I told him how I felt. But then my daughter got with him, because at that time she was going to graduate from Temple, and she just let him know, hey, you weren't around, but guess what? Me and my mom did this all by herself, and I'm going to graduate from Temple University. Made him feel this small. You knew, but you never tried to help. Just to let you know we got through it, and I'm good. So I let her do her job. But after that, we moved on. But it's good to have a partner where he understands, and he won't judge you.
Right.
He won't think that you were the culprit, that you let it happen. That's why you have to have a partner that understands.
And that's that grace conversation, like,
Yeah.
to just be maturing enough together and in collaboration and understanding, what their role is. They may not always be able to fix it or have those lovely, colorful words to share with the person. And I know that someone just had a conversation with me about confronting someone. You had the gift of being able to confront the person physically. And if you're in the therapeutic process, depending on the style of the clinician that you're working with, you may confront them as writing a letter or from the empty chair process, because you need to let that energy go, because you carry that in your energy every single day, every single conversation, until you choose to let it go. Because what you're choosing to carry is in your spirit everywhere that you choose to carry it with you. So it's like you have to develop a process that's going to let it go. Forgiveness, grace, confronting, whatever word it is that you need to identify, claim, and separate yourself from it. I do want to take, Cherie, I'm coming to you with this question, so maybe you could put it together with it.
Okay, because I'm going to say something to Belinda and Pamela, but I'm going to be patient and wait for your question, Mary. Go ahead.
Okay. Maybe you could fold it into all of this, but the question goes to you and Lynette, because you both of you all mentioned it. So what I would like you to do is to say what you want to say, but then go into answering the question, and then it could tag team for that. So the question I have is, you guys mentioned body. Oh my God, I want to say the right word. And it's funny because I use this word also. Body safety education, body safety awareness. What would the audience, be it that there's someone who works in this space like in ways that we do, or someone who's a survivor that needs to be more aware of their body safety, what would it be, something that you think that they need to walk away from this conversation more equipped with? That would be what I would want you to share with them. But Sharia, address your stuff first and then do that.
Okay. Well, I want to say this to you, Belinda, because I feel the pain that you've experiencing, and all of us has experienced this. But I'm saying this to you, Belinda. I had to go through, and I'm still going through, self-compassion. And with me going through these self-compassion workbooks, it tells us in this work that I'm doing, it says, talk to yourself as if you were talking to someone that you love and you care about. And as one of the guests even said in the comments, she said,
no, she's frozen.
There I go with my computer. As if you were talking to, I didn't say anything else, as if you were talking to a 5-year-old, or if you were talking to a 10-year-old, or if you were talking to your best friend, or you was even talking to your child, and they shared with you that they're your best, let's say your best friend, she shared with you that she got into the car and someone raped her, or she shared with you the other experiences. What would you say to her? Would you blame her? Would you be upset? Or would you embrace her? Would you hug her? And would you tell those words that you would say to her? If you have a journal, look in the mirror, whatever, say that to yourself. It takes time. I still go through it. But when we want to meet each other, meet ourselves with compassion, talk to yourself as if you're talking to a little child or talking to your best friend or someone that you love and care about, because you deserve that same type of compassion that you would give to someone else. So I just wanted to say that to you. So then, one last thing, and then I'll answer the question. I'm sorry, I'll be talking a lot, but this is so important.
What I tell you about that? First of all, before as women of color, we have to stop saying sorry. We have permission to utilize our voices, and we're always canceling ourselves out by saying sorry. We no longer can say sorry.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, all right, all right. And my
All right.
mother would kill me if
Thank
she
you
heard
for letting me speak
this.
further.
You spoke about we have to create these people in the church, the elders in the church, to be there for the children. With this body said, so I'm tying this in, and this is going to be the answer to your question. I'm tying them together. You asked, what would we tell someone that was listening to us about body safety education? Well, body safety rules are a set of rules that because you have rules for everything, rules to help the children, help us protect the children. And we know that sexual assault prevention isn't just you teach the child the body safety education, that's it, because it's adults' responsibility to protect the children. However, these are rules that we can tell the children. And one of with the body safety education, Pamela, one of the things that is so important is creating I call it a safety circle. My dear friend Feather, she's amazing with the work that she does. She calls it a prevention team, and it's a group of people that you bring the safety circle, 5 people. And this is what I would tell parents: help your child create a safety circle. Who's in a safety circle? It's 5 people that your child feels comfortable talking to. If their body starts to give them trigger warnings, if their body starts to make them feel unsafe, if someone breaks the body safety rules, if someone tells them to keep a secret. And these 5 people are safe people. They know body safety education, they know prevention education, and they're going to believe your child, and they are going to help your child. So if you create that, as Pamela, you were speaking about with elders, and let your child create, and it can't be everyone in the family. It has to be one person that's not in the family, because families protect each other. So it has to be someone that's not in the family, because their loyalty is to that child and not to the family. And tell the child, tell this person, and tell until someone helps you. That covers what you said, Pamela. But that's something that I want to give to the listening audience. If I could tell them anything about the prevention, education, and body safety, create a safety circle, create a prevention team, so that they know how to protect your children. And if your children, and it's any adult that you leave with your child, that's going to be in the hands of your children. You have to have these conversations. This is such an important component to protecting your children from sexual abusers.
Lynette?
Thank you. Belinda, I wanted to say something to you, because you mentioned that your assault came from a person with a position in church. And I remember you saying before about how that kind of drew you away from church. Because when it happened to me, I kind of backed up too from church. Matter of fact, I joined the Nation of Islam for about 3 years. Until then I just didn't do anything. When I did go back to church, it was because I needed God for myself. Not because I had to go out. I used to go out of habit. My mom made me go every Sunday. That was a habitual thing. But when I got older, I had to go back to what I knew and what I was taught, and reading the word for myself and getting a relationship with God for myself. And I just wanted to encourage you and just let you know, God never left you. He's still there. He's still with you. So just begin to establish a new relationship with him, and he'll pull you through this. It takes time, though. He will pull you through it. That's what I wanted to say to you.
I appreciate you, ladies.
What did you say?
So I appreciate both of you ladies for your thoughtful comments, and it means so much. And believe me, it takes to heart. So thank you both.
Awesomeness, awesomeness. Miss Lynette?
Yeah, Lynette, you've been quiet for about 10 minutes.
I was listening attentively. That's what I do. Tell you, when I got over 50, my whole life has just changed. It's just,
I know what you said, though.
So,
I like what you said in reference to college. The college thing, because my granddaughter's in college now. She's on here looking at
That could be a
we could
whole
do a
nother show.
whole hour on that
Yeah.
one. I feel like school days, hold on, let me shut up. Okay, so bodily autonomy. So one of the things that we work on, of course, is teaching bodily autonomy. And I think one of the things that I think is very important is that sexuality as a whole can't just be focused on the negative parts. I think of many times when you think about conversations around sexuality, when you're introducing it to schools or churches or communities, we always talk about the negative part, like sexual assault or rape or pregnancy, all these things. I think one of the things no, it's not, I know that you need to integrate positive conversations around sexuality so that people are able to articulate anything that's going on sexually with their bodies, good experiences, bad experiences, because what I always tell people, if you haven't created a vehicle or a language for me to talk about positive experiences, it's no way I'm coming to you with a negative experience. So it's very difficult for my first conversation with you to talk about is a negative, harmful experience when you haven't created a vehicle for me even to talk about my body and how I feel about my body or body exploration or anything like that, or sexual feelings. So that's one of the main things. Second thing that I would say is too, all because you're trained to be a teacher, all because you're trained to be a layperson at the church, all because you're trained to be a community leader does not mean you're trained to handle conversations around sexual assault, rape, and other things like that. The reason I say that is because when I train churches, what I do is that you are the leader, you are in control, but just like when other stuff comes in that you can't handle, you need to bring in experts. You need to bring in people who will not victim shame, blame, or make the person feel as though they can't talk about it. You're in charge of all the religious, all this stuff. That's your wheelhouse. But you know what? Sometimes, God gives you wisdom and discernment. He gives other people, knowledge and blessings. Sometimes you need to say, hey, this is out of my wheelhouse, because the church can't handle everything. The community centers can't handle everything. The schools can't handle everything. The police. So you have to realize levels of expertise. And I don't think that we do that around sexuality related issues, whether it be sexual trauma, rape, or anything like that. So even when we introduce it, I think it needs to be, you can give the information, an overview, gather information and say, you know what? Let me refer you to this person, or bring this person in, or have you talk to this person, because the first or second thing people hear really dictates what they do after that conversation. And then my last part is that even in schools, I'm an advocate that you need to start conversations earlier than kindergarten, but at least kindergarten. Young people need to know every part of their body. I'm sitting in court too often when a child's case is thrown out because they called it a kitty cat or something, and you can't give them the information because they say you're feeding the witness. Our young people need to know the correct names of their body parts. Also, one of the things that we do teach is that everybody has like a superhero suit that is covering all parts of their body, and the only person can get that part off, and everybody talks about what their superpower is. So the kid might say it's my voice. It might be I'm invisible, like all different types of things. I'm not doing it anymore because Sharia's doing it now, so I don't have to do this no more. I'm doing period poverty. We used to do that years ago. So Sharia, what do I do now? I'll refer somebody in a second. Lynette, you still doing it? Nope, go to Sharia. But this is some of the work we used to do, and we basically said that only these people, same idea, has the key to getting that super suit off, or on these parts, and only these people. So we have to start early with our young people. We can't not have these conversations around safety and conversations over their body and who can touch these parts, and tell them, no, even if somebody say, don't say anything, mommy doesn't care, I'm here for you. Like, really let them know that, because people who groom people have been doing this for years. They didn't just hop up and say, I'm going to start grooming these kids. They are professionals. So you need to start having these conversations with your young people. But again, people need experts. And I think that's the issue that we don't. There are people, even on this panel, who are trained experts in these fields. We can't have Aunt Joni and Uncle like we you got to bring an expert sometime, and that's okay to say. You know what? You might not know everything. You can have the preliminary conversation, but you might invoke more harm
Absolutely.
and more trauma because you don't know in one or two words. Like as soon as it's triggered, because I hear this all the time. Well, where was you at? How late was it? Why were you out the house? And you don't even remember. They don't even realize they said all this. So now the person's like, I'm done. I'm not going to that. They're not going to, So I think that's important. So I think that's how we can basically change these narratives and create a safer environment. Positive sexuality, positive conversations will evoke conversations when negative stuff happens because we created that safety net. There, I talked today. And that might be all I'm saying.
That is not all that you're saying, but thank you so very much for that contribution. I want to just check in with you, Yvonne, at this moment because we have the two more questions. Want to thank the audience that has been with us, from the beginning. And just want to check in with you before we, round it out with these last two parts that are planned to see if it's something that you want to add for the audience at this time before we wind it on down. I know it's a lot. Like you got a lot to take in.
I'm ecstatic about the coming together of this group of women. It's just phenomenal how I connected with each of them and their eagerness and willingness to be a part of this. And what I want to share with the audience more than anything else, I wish this is the time I wish I had 1,000 tongues, and I'd say it in 1,000 tongues. It is not your fault. Baby girl, baby boy, old man, old lady, it is not your fault. It isn't your fault today. It wasn't your fault yesterday. It was not your fault. The fact that someone did something to you, what happened to you. You were not a willing participant. You may have thought you were. And I think the best way that we can help each other is to educate ourselves. Educate ourselves as to what sexual assault is. So many of us have a misunderstanding of what sexual assault is. And because we don't understand what it is, we don't understand that I've been assaulted. We don't understand that I've been violated. We don't understand that this was against my will. We don't understand that I wasn't a willing participant. We don't understand that this wasn't something I wanted to happen. We don't understand that I meant to say no, even though I didn't verbalize no. So I say to those individuals that may be hurting, that may even have a question in their mind, whoever you are, try to get the help. Professional help, as Lynette said. Sometimes auntie, cousin so-and-so, brother so-and-so want to help, but sometimes the things that they say will further traumatize us. Let us reach out to agencies and organizations that are trained and skilled. And there are some agencies where you don't even have to go in and look at the people face to face. You can pick up a phone. You can make up a name and say, I'm Karen. Make up any name, just so they'll have a name
Not
to
Karen,
share
no.
and be able to
2020 said not Karen.
No Karen.
I'm sorry.
Get that, and you will be surprised at how much better you'll feel because you'll have a better understanding of what you encountered and that it was not your fault. Thank you.
Awesome. So as we like I said, we have a few minutes and we are so glad that you are hanging out with us in this very difficult conversation. And we know, people look at this conversation as taboo and they say, well, why would you even have something like this? Like, just keep this in the closet, tuck it under the bed, don't even talk about it. Ladies, what are some of the myths? Yeah, we're not gonna do Karen. We're not gonna say our names as Karen. What are some of the myths that come with sexual assault? And even if you are listening and looking in, you could drop it in the comments. What are some of the myths that you hear or understand when you have learned that someone has experienced a sexual assault? Now I'm gonna tell y'all, we had a pre-meeting and had a whole bunch of them that we listed out. And Sharia earlier listed out some that I was about to spit them out earlier, and I said, nope, let me keep those in because she might say those later. So
the one that comes to mind for me, and again, my assault was at the age of 14. It was the last Sunday in November, which the next Sunday I would have been my 15th birthday. So I'm just telling you that to let you know the time of month it was, the time of year it was. It was yay cold. It was cold the end of November. Unlike now, it was really, really cold. I was coming out, so I was fully clothed, a hat, a scarf, gloves, the whole 9 yards. And when people say it was because of the way you were dressed, that is one of the biggest myths, because nuns who are fully dressed are raped and molested. Little babies are raped and molested. Old ladies are raped and molested. It has nothing to do with the way an individual is dressed. So that's my myth. That's the one I want to put out there and just rip apart. It has nothing to do with the way you are dressed. It is the mind of the perpetrator. It is that individual's sick-mindedness, his or her willingness to assault you. You could be in a $1,000 outfit, or you could have on a 2-piece bikini. It is not your fault as to the way you were dressed. That's my myth.
Okay. They coming in the comments.
Okay. Somebody said you didn't.
You didn't say no, that they wanted it. You interjected your opinion and telling them that they need to speak up, that it was wrong. Going through the growth stages. Yep. What else we got, ladies?
So agree. For me, one of mine that I'll pull up is that how can you say you were abused when you were so young and don't remember all the details? You couldn't have been abused if you don't remember all the details. There's such a thing called, blocking it out.
Right.
We do have gaps in our memories because, it's traumatizing. So our brain does what it does, and it
blocks it out.
Yes, and blocks it out. So yes, I may not know the details to it, but I do know I was assaulted. So don't take that from me. Just because I remember every detail. And I shouldn't have to repeat all the details to you just to justify that I was abused. That's just re-traumatizing myself. So that's my myth.
My myth is that, well, how could you go back around this person? Like, how are you around them again? And, we saw you together later, or how are you still, talking to them? I think it's that idea that all of a sudden, you can just stop being around these people who are in these situations, or that it's your choice that it happened. And now, this might be, like you said, a teacher or something, like, what, you're just not going to go to school anymore? Like, what? I'm just But
confused. You had teacher husband, like both of those are like both obligated connections.
So you just want to, well, how did you, just stay going? Because that's it. And it's so funny, Melinda, what you're talking about. We repress and suppress so much to continue living, just to survive. Like, people don't understand how we deal with trauma, and our body just basically blocks stuff out so that we can live. And I think that's what's so important, to realize that, again, it could be somebody, it could be somebody close, it could be somebody you have to see every day. But I think that's it. That's the myth that I hate. Like, well, you wouldn't be going around them anymore. You wouldn't be around them anymore if that happened to you. So you must have made that up, or, you're feeding more into it. So I think that's my myth, because that happens to so many young people all the time now. And they're like, well, why would you still be around your cousin? What the hell? Like, how am I not going to be around my cousin? Like, they're like, Thanksgiving is getting ready to come up. Wow. Like, even though it's COVID, but how do you so I think that's what
I think just invite the cousin. And
but I think that's what the grooming part is so real and so like a mystery that people don't realize, that the grooming happens right in front of you and you see it, but you don't realize that that's what's really happening. While that Red Cup Chronicles, that we sitting there laughing with whatever's in that red cup, and we having our celebration of the holiday dinner, but uncle is going back in the back room where the kids is and offering them trinkets, establishing that trust factor that they need or whatever, and saying, oh, okay, well, tomorrow we're gonna go to the mall and I'm gonna, buy you some things or whatever. So it's like, are you serious?
And as you speak about that grooming, just quickly, with my first offense at the age of 8, now, and I hadn't even put that together until just now, how my perpetrator was so much nicer to me. The individual babysitted me and other family members. So I don't want to put anybody else out there. I was allowed to do other stuff, and I was allowed to do other things, and I was allowed other treats and other this. And I just thought, okay, I'm just allowed to do this. Then as the assault began to happen, I wanted to go outside. No, you can't go outside. You have to stay inside. All of a sudden, my privileges are being taken away from me. But the other people that were being babysat, you can go outside. That was their way of separating them from us. And no, you can't go outside. You were reading a book. You stay right here. But I didn't realize until now that was a part of the grooming process. You can have this. You can do that. You can do this. And that's what they do. And it makes the individual, the child wonder, well, what was wrong with me? What was it about? Lord have mercy. What was it about me that made me an easy target? Here I am, 60 years old, and I am just now, I'm not being triggered. I don't know what's going on now, but something's happening. Here I am at 60 years old wondering, what was it about me at the age of 8 that out of the ones that you babysat, you chose me? And at first I'm thinking, okay, something good, but it made me think that it's a weakness. It's a something about me. What is it about me that you chose to do this to me? And I'm getting angry. And getting angry is a part of the healing process. Acknowledging, seeing, don't swallow that anger. Use it to propel you to do better, propel you to get the help that you need. Use that anger as a stepping stone to climb up and out of the dark pit that your perpetrator has allowed you to be in for so long. I'm so glad for this platform. I'm so happy.
One of the myths for me was that what if they didn't have a weapon, why didn't you fight harder? You just, wasn't no bruises or nothing on you. Like you just gave up.
All weapons aren't physical.
Exactly. And my thing was, no, he didn't have a weapon, but he put his hand around my neck and was choking me. So my thing is, I'm just going to just do what you got to do to get off of me, So they don't always use a weapon, but just like you said before, Yvonne, you just wanted to just get it over with and leave me alone. Afterwards, I went in the bathroom and cried and wept and everything else, but I still didn't say anything. You better, and I was told, you better not say nothing. That was the other thing. You better not say nothing. So what do you do? I was 14 too. You're a young girl. He was in the Army. He got locked up. So you hold it in. You don't say anything. And that's what a lot of young girls do now. They don't speak up because out of fear. That's that fear.
Right.
And families say, what about this myth? What goes on in the family stays in the family.
We got to break that silence. Got to break that silence. Yeah.
Certainly do groom them children. I remember that uncle. And that's another thing, everybody's not family. We call them in our culture,
Right.
Uncles, cousins, and everything. And, we love gatherings and everything. We bring people around and, this is Uncle so-and-so, and Uncle so-and-so comes and, like Yvonne says, zooms in on you out of all the other kids, starts getting you candy and doing this and doing that. And your child mind doesn't know what's going on. You're innocent in this whole predatory scheme. And next thing you know, oh, well, I did all this for you. Now you're going to act like,
You're going to come sit on my lap.
come,
Well, you're going to come take this ride with me.
let me give you a piggyback ride.
Or your hair is so pretty. They giving you compliments that you may not be receiving anywhere else. And so it's filling that complimentary void or that attention, or, it's so layered. And that's the thing that I think that people miss in the grooming process, or why the grooming conversation gets overlooked as a contributing factor, because they're like, if they're not a nurturing, or that attachment bond is not important, they don't recognize how important that is in building that connection that people need for people. I mean, look at what we're experiencing in the fact that we're unable to connect with people during this virus season that we're in. It's the same thing. I mean, and unfortunately, because people are connecting in unhealthy ways, it's still, creating unhealthy connections, if you will, All right.
Okay, my myth is
It looked like you was
sexual
writing a
assault
whole
isn't.
bunch of stuff over there. Now you come up with your dissertation.
No,
I'm messing with you.
I like to talk. Don't get me
I'm
started.
sorry.
Yeah, let me look at the.
You got 3 minutes.
I'm not even taking 3 because this part still pisses me off. But sexual assault isn't that bad if it's from an older teen. It's not that bad. The effects aren't as bad.
It's status.
It's not that bad as it was if it was an adult. The effects is not that bad.
You dropped the mic.
I dropped it. So I was kind of grounding myself when I was writing before I say that statement, because I still hear those words. But the effects are the same, whether it's an older teen, whether it's an adult. And we need to know, as adults, as parents, caregivers, members of the church, members of the masjid, 40% of sexual assault happens with older teens and younger children. That's 40%. So we have to have these conversations. That's why I'm planning to start in 2021 programs for our boys. You said we need to talk to our boys, but our boys are being sexually assaulted too.
Absolutely.
And we think, if a boy is assaulted by a woman, the effect is no big deal. And that is not true. We have to talk to our children, and we have to let them know, our older teens, they shouldn't do it. No one should do it to them. And we have to be mindful of leaving a younger child with an older teen. And that's what we do. Go play. The adults are here talking. We got to cut that out. Thanksgiving is never fun to me, because when they send all the kids in one room, I'm sitting right there with all the other kids. So y'all eat, y'all have fun, adults. I'm sitting here because I'm making sure all these children are safe, because there's an older child with a younger child, and anything could happen. So we have to be mindful of that, especially Thanksgiving is about to come again. So those effects are the same. Whether you're 8 and he's 15, whether you're 10 and he's 12, whether you're 12 and she's 12, we have same sex women rape girls, boys, rape girls. We have to talk about that. We can't, even though we're all women on this platform, our little boys are being assaulted by women, and we know our boys are being assaulted by men, and we have to pay attention and educate ourselves and protect our children, not just from the uncle, not just from the teacher, not just from the date, but we have to set up prevention education and understand the statistics and understand that. And there's a difference with the grooming process with an older teen versus an adult, but we have to talk about this. It is so important.
And I want to be cool. Lynette, go ahead.
And I always wanted to say about the stranger danger. Like, everybody is not a stranger. That's why we talking about this good touch bad. These antics, that we kind of say all the time, and it kind of makes people think, oh, as long as I know them, uncle somebody or cousin somebody, or you left me with this person, and that's when you're talking about the teens and the kids, because you always like, oh, well, go with such and such, he's good, and then it's like they have this thing, well, I trust them because you said I could be with them and you left me alone with them. So, and also in the chat about same sex, and I think that's one of the things that happens a lot of times that we don't address when it's same sex assault, or like you said, women on young boys, because I counsel a lot of men who are really dealing with that because they felt like they couldn't say it because how as a man or a boy am I, how am I going to be, my manhood is challenged now, or what people think I must be gay because I didn't want this woman coming on to me or whatever. So I think that's one of the things that we really don't talk about. But that stranger danger, mostly say most sexual assault happens with people that they already know. Usually it's not a stranger. So.
And the thing is, it's a global conversation as well, because in the fact that, like I'm just thinking in July, I did a conversation where it was in South Africa with the Liberian culture, and rape during the virus season has escalated. But there's also spiritual connections on how permission is communicated, because in their religion, they seek younger children for their partners. So then there's that consent that they don't really have to ask permission. But then it's really convoluted and really detailed. I don't want to really go into the detail, but then so it's very globally impacted on how sexual assault is a global conversation. And you have religion that influences sexual assault, but then you also just have patriarchy that influences sexual assault. You have how people look at how violence is communicated and how violence is not, looked at based on gender assignment or gender identifying communities, because there is not one gender that should be, more responsive than the other. It should be fluid across however it is that you identify. And it's just very, very intense on, this conversation around sexual assault, because again, I always emphasize sex is currency, like no matter how it is that you look at it. And when I say currency, it replaces cash flow. It replaces everything that you would need for purchasing something. You can purchase it with the exchange of an interaction. So, I mean, it's not necessarily, to purchase something, but it's a gratification. It's an exchange.
I,
Any,
I just want
go
to
ahead.
add too, if we could high five in our young boys, if we could do away with that, with conquering, when that's the narrative we teach our young boys, when they come, they say, oh, I got her. And then, it's a habit for the men to, you conquered her. We're not to be conquered. We should stop educating them, to telling them that, they should be high five. Just like, I don't know. I just feel like boys, when they're growing up, they're given the leadway, And even like you said, where a young boy can be raped by an older woman, but that is seen as, hey, high five. What you mean? It's rape altogether. And
in facilitating in July, like the conversation that that was had was that an individual who was at a cookout, like Cherie, you say you go in the back with the kids because of the older kids. The person, I believe they were 12, and mom's friend, after playing the card game, had several drinks, went with the kids in the back and took one of the men or the young men and sexually assaulted them. And they did not have any sexual encounters until they were in their young 20s at college, because of the impact and influence of that interaction having on their just negotiations around that interaction. So it does have an impact on men who did not ask for that to happen.
Yes, the impact is all the same. It's one and the same. The emotional scars.
Yes. So someone is co-signing with understanding how in South Africa it's a very high rate of sexual violence against women and children. And yes, it's alarming. It's alarming. And the conversation was interesting, but definitely alarming. So our final wrap up question for conversation of this evening to share with our listening audience either tonight or on the replay. If you were to look a survivor in her eyes or in his eyes, in their eyes, since we have to be culturally responsive, what would you say to them today? What would be the toolkit? What would be the survivor toolkit that you would share with them moving forward? I think earlier someone said if they were to get in your car and be like, listen, this just happened to me, what are you saying? And while you guys think about what your response is, I just want to give a shout out, a virtual hug and love to our king in the chat, holding it down with our time check. He's rocking it out for us in behind studio, keeping us on task. So if you were to look in the eyes of a survivor, what would be the toolkit? She gets in your car, he gets in your car, they get in your car. What would be the things that you would say to them?
I would say, I believe you. I'm sorry this happened to you. It wasn't supposed to happen. It's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of you. I'm here for you. You are not alone.
Mm.
And your voice is your power. And I will take this journey with you.
Awesome.
Well, you kind of said it all.
Right? She's the dissertation lady. That's what I'm gonna write on every video I see of hers from this point forward. I'm gonna go on LinkedIn, everywhere. I'm gonna be like, dissertation approved. While you guys are thinking, I'm gonna share some of the comments that have been shared by one of our followers. You are strong, you are valued in this world. What's the best way I can support you? That's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome. Because it's all in the positive narrative. It's all in the not blaming narrative. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that this is something you experienced. You didn't deserve this. Awesome. Awesome.
I think what I would probably say would pretty much be pretty similar to what Sharia has just said. Dead in their eyes so that they can not only hear my voice, but that they can see my voice, that they can actually see the words and feel the words coming first from my heart, up and out of my mouth and through my eyes. This was not your fault. This was not your fault. And I believe you. It is so crucial. The first person you come out to after you have shared the assault, their reaction or their response to what you shared can make a world of difference. And just in 30 seconds, I'm going to say that the young lady that I first shared my abuse with when I went to the hospital and I had to disrobe and put on the hospital gown so that I could be examined. And as I was being examined, taking my clothes off, the grass fell out of my clothes on the floor. And I said, see, look, see, it really did happen. It really did happen. And that old white woman, in my mind, she was an older white woman. The woman was only 40 years old. I don't think she's old now because I'm almost 60, so I don't see 40 years old. But as a 14-year-old, I'm looking at this lady who I didn't know from a can of paint. And she said to me and looked straight in my eyes. She said, baby, I believe you. I believed you the first time you said it. I expected my mother to believe me. I expected family members to believe me. But this lady don't know me from anything. She said, baby, I believe you. And a part of why I do what I do now, I always share, I want to do for somebody else what Dorothy did for me. And that's all I remember is her name was Dorothy. The way she made me feel is how I want to support another sexual assault survivor. I want to do for somebody else what Dorothy did for me. I
Awesome.
believe you, baby. I believed you when you first said it.
Awesome.
Now add on to that, and I'll just say to them, to couple on to everything that you guys said, you are brave. You are extraordinarily brave, and you are a survivor. And it may seem that, like the pain won't end, but it will. It will, and healing is possible. Although it's a journey, it is possible. And to just continue to work towards yourself, like you said, giving yourself that self-compassion.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of the time when females do come to me and share, I'm a hugger. I mean, that's just me, but but I always just ask them first, are you okay? Like, how are you feeling? So I could just get a sense on where they are. And and then what she said, it's not your fault, you didn't deserve it. And just try to give them a little bit of comfort at that time. And just basically, most of them are just lay on your shoulder and kind of cry for a minute. Um, but I before I touch it, I will say, is it okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know if that's a trigger either. Um, and I'm a spiritual being, so I always throw in that God gonna get you through it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. But it's hard sometimes because a lot of them feel, well, God allowed this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You get that too.
Mm-hmm.
You
Tell
know,
the truth.
you get that too. So you just have to be prepared for all of it.
And
So
that's a part of the anger walk. Like that's
yes,
a part of the anger walk. So it's okay.
it
Mm-hmm.
is. Because I got anger. It is. And it is okay for them to say that because they have to get through that process.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what Lynette,
Yes.
that's her name, right?
Yes, it is.
What she said about, and if I can't give them what they need, always guide them to somebody that can. Because I can only give but so much. Just like that's what we do in the counseling sessions with the couple. If we can't get them to a certain place, we know other couples that can, and we could refer them to. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the best thing. Just give them the support that they need so they can get over it.
And the thing that I don't know, it gave me pause when you shared it because I'm a hugger also, but when I'm not a hugger, is the trauma therapist in me is that I'm always asking for permission, like
Mm-hmm.
that consent. And I'd be like, is it okay if I can embrace you? Or is it okay or are you able to receive a hug from me at this time?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I want to offer that to you in this space. And the reason is because a part of whatever their experience has been, they may feel so fragile that they're unable to receive it,
Leave it.
you know? And so if they're unable to receive it, you can ask them what type of connection can they receive, which may be your hand on their shoulder or connecting with your hands, like they're putting their hands on top of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or, your hands connecting, like as far as, embracing like that. So it's like different ways in which to replace the hug. And then, you add your cousin COVID in the mix of it too.
Oh
You
no,
might have
you're
to
not hugging
find other
nobody
new
right
ways
now.
too. Huh?
I said,
I
yeah,
mean,
you're not hugging
it's still
nobody
new
right
ways.
at
You
this
might do the
point.
elbow hug or something like that. But it's different things that you can consider. But
Yeah.
this just thinking from before you add your cousin into the mix, you have to ask for that consent and
Mm-hmm.
asking what it is that their body, mind, and soul is open and responsive to receiving from someone at this time. Yes, Lynette, it's your turn.
So I would say, of course, that I believe you, that I'm here with you. This is your journey and I'm here with you. But one thing that is important too, is to just tell people like you're safe right now. Right now you're safe. And I think safety is paramount because when you're in those situations, like you said, we do what we do because we don't feel safe. Like we just feel like I need to do this. I need to do this so I can get out of this, like get out the way so that you're safe. I'm here. I believe you. And this, and I always, and, emphatic about saying this is something that landed on you that wasn't your fault. Like, I always feel like people are walking around with blood stains from somebody else who was bleeding. You understand? Like you're walking around like this was you when they're the wounded ones who are sick or have these issues, and now you're wearing the scars of it. So, I believe you. I'm here for you. This is your journey. Because one thing too is I don't want to push you further than you're ready to go right now. Because some people are like, you gotta do this and you gotta know this is your journey. I'm here. I'm alongside you, and you're safe. You're safe right now because so many times again we're in positions where we're just not safe, so we make decisions based on trying to be safe and trying to survive, and I think that's something that we really don't always have a conversation with.
Mhm.
Or how can I keep you safe? There you go.
Right. Or what is it that you need to feel safe? And that may be a very vague and great question is because they may not know what it is that they need because they thought that they had what they need. And now that clear water that they had and thinking they knew what they need has become very muddy. And so now they need to put whatever they need to in that muddy water to make it clear again and creating the space of what that's going to look like. The one thing or one area in which this very rich conversation has not covered, and possibly Yvonne, we can, consider what that would look like for another conversation, or you could do it as a different space, however. But there's family members who also, once they learn that their family member has been impacted by sexual assault or violence in some particular ways, that are not always able to receive that something has happened to their loved one. And they also need to know this language that we have shared from the positive narrative of what their role can be. And as we've shared, for the religious population and religious communities to know when to call the experts in or the other people in, families need to know when their capacity or in their toolkits have been exhausted, and that it's not a stigma or it is not a bad thing to say, okay, we need to call a therapist in, or we need to call, somebody else in to help us grow through this situation that we thought we were protecting our family through. However, unfortunately, these things happen. And we mentioned college campuses, but that's where most of those alerts happen every single morning, especially on that Friday through Monday morning, where the sexual assaults happen because alcohol and other substances are most used on the weekends. And so then therefore that altered thinking is
Or
occurring.
Thirsty Thursday.
What happened?
Thirsty Thursday.
Thursday, yeah, but let me not forget Thirsty Thursdays because you got the 5 cent wings. um, but definitely, those concerns as well, because the family usually feels ill-equipped and thinking, just as we think, okay, well, when New Year's Day comes, we can have a vision board and have these new goals of what the new year is going to bring, and these new goals is what is going to be. We could just wash it off and it's going to be a new day. We evolve one conversation at a time. So as we evolve one conversation at a time, is not a light switch to our healing process. So it's a journey. And it's a journey that, as we've shared different narratives throughout this conversation tonight, it's a lifelong journey. And that we grow in different spaces to become comfortable with different parts of our story, that we have our first where we can share our voice out loud and say different things. So I thank you, Yvonne, for the invitation to participate as a survivor, but also as a trauma therapist to kind of guide and support this conversation as the moderator, but also as a trauma therapist in this space. with Butterfly Love. So if anybody has been triggered, I am a resource that they can reach out to. However, before we, wrap up and Yvonne, you share your final words. So get yourself aligned with what you want to share. I do want to go around, and if there's a way that people can reach out to you if they feel led and connected to anything that has been shared in this conversation, how can someone reach you?
I could be reached at my email address. I'm Elder Pamela Durant. I am the pastor over the women's ministries at my church, House of Faith Baptist Church. William J. Scott III is my pastor. You can reach me at pdurant55@msn.com.
Okay. And if we all could probably go back to Yvonne's Facebook page and put our comments after the close of this event, and also after we sharing it live here, but we can also put it in the comments. So if people come back to this post or catch us on the replay, they can also find us through the comments as well. Who would like to go next?
So I'm Lynette Medley from No More Secrets, Mind, Body, Spirit Incorporated, which again is a sexuality awareness organization. So you can reach me at No More Secrets, mbs.org, or on, what else was I going to say? On Facebook, I'm sorry, on Facebook under Lynette Medley, or No More Secrets, a realistic approach to sexual health. But it's No More Secrets, M for mind, B for body, S for spirit.org. Yeah.
Aren't you also on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram too under no_more secrets. No, it's not. Yeah, no_more secrets 469. I'm sorry, guys. Listen, y'all know it's late for me. But there you go.
So, which one is yours?
I'm hungry.
Okay, Pam.
In that. Well, ladies, I will go ahead. I am Belinda Chamasi, and you can read, as it states, Belinda Chamasi, TWUMASI, SW@gmail.com. Thank you for any, just thank you for listening and any inquiries. I am looking forward to aspire to be like these ladies who have already established themselves. So I'll be following up with you all after this.
Sharia.
My name is Sharia Schultz. As I said previously, I'm the founder of Buddy Speaks Foundation. So you can reach me at www.buddyspeaks.org, or you can reach me on Instagram under my name, Sharia_Schultz, as written here, or on Facebook as Sharia Schultz, or Instagram also, Buddy_Speaks. Same with Facebook. So if you go to my website, it has my contact information, it has my phone number and my email. So those are multiple ways that you can reach me.
And I am Mary May from Butterfly Love. My website is butterflylovellc.com, and my Facebook page is Butterfly Love Consultations. And you can feel free to schedule a consult with me on my website. And I look forward to connecting with you guys soon. So Yvonne, take it away. Thank you so very much. Let's give her a round of applause. Yes, you did it. Your first
I gotta come off mute.
virtual event. Yes.
I did a work party. So many people
You
are
did it. You did it. Congratulations.
Ladies, thank you so much. I received so much support from these ladies. And even at the 11th hour, I was still getting support and some turnaround. And I am ecstatic about you ladies who I asked them without hesitation or reservation, straight from the hip. You said, yes, I'm in. Tell me what you need. I'm here to support you. I cannot thank you enough. And I just say to the listening audience, it is my hope that you have gained some information. It was not our intent to change your mind, but to bring awareness as to why some of us have waited. One of the myths is the fact that you waited means there's no way you could have possibly been assaulted. The fact that you didn't report it is clear indication that you were not assaulted. That's a myth. So I wanted to bring to your listening ear why some of us waited, the reason why some of us waited. And I just lastly like to say to the king that has been referenced several times, my grandson, Khalil Odom. Khalil, if you're appropriate, just switch the camera and let the people see you for a minute, if you will. Come on, Khalil. This is my oldest grandson. He supported me for the whole thing. And I thank him so much. And lastly, I want you guys to see these flowers. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
How can you see them?
Beautiful arrangement.
From my daughter. She sent me these. She had them delivered today. The ticket said, "Congratulations, Mom, for your first online event." So thank you, everybody.
Well,
and we have a follow-up show. There's Kyle. Hey, Lil, thank you. I will be having a follow-up the 12th of December. I don't know if you guys know her. Her name is Nettie Long. We're going to be coming back with some more sexual assault information and stuff. So the flyer will be going out. It was Mary May who told me, when you have this event, make sure you already have the date for your next event. So I'm out there. I got some people, I got some heavy waiters back here backing me up. So I'm ready to go. And to God, I give all the glory. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much.
Can we switch numbers on our text? Can I get some information from you ladies? So
let's meet in the chat. Let's just stay on, and we'll meet in the studio. So don't sign off just yet.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you all who have joined us live, and we'll catch you next time. See you soon. We'll add our information in the chat for those who would like to be connected with. Take care. Be safe, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Yes.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, Khalil, for showing your kingdom face.
Yeah.